one note or one tone different than the next. I can't imagine learning how to play one like this. That's why the button models are much more popular. I'm without the paper. This is the same idea called the polyphonia. Just a complete chromatic run as you go from one hole to the next. The vignetta was the simplest and smallest of Hohner's chord harmonicas. Now they each played 3 different chords. I guess actually 6, counting blow and draw. This is a minor. And so forth. And they don't often come in the minor chords, but that one happens to be that way. Here we have a drawer full of toy harmonicas. One that looks like a train, just a toy, with a whistle. This drawer has all chromatics, and these are chromatics made by companies other than Hohner. My Hohner chromatics are in other places in this room, but they're made by companies like Dorfel and Yamaha and Sadelsohn and Thorens, and you name it. I think there's maybe 60 or so harmonicas in this drawer. Some of them are U.S. made by a company called Kratt, and this is one of them. The William Kratt Company worked in Newark, New Jersey, making U.S. harmonicas. And in the drawer beneath that, we'll get to this case a little later, toward the end of the day. We will be doing something with those harmonicas. There are toy instruments in here, different than the ones on the other side of the room, but same idea. Harmonica reeds played by pressing the keys on the instrument. And below here are these vertical drawers, which have, you might be able to see it better on this end, the harmonicas on horizontal shelves. It was the only way I could figure to store these in a way that you could readily get to them without rummaging through a deep drawer and look at them conveniently. So most of my smaller models, one-sided, that aren't necessarily special ones that I have tucked away in the dental cabinet, I have stored away here. In this nook here, I have a number of other kinds of harmonicas, and I'll show you a few of them. We'll start with the earliest chromatic harmonica made by the Hohner Company. And at first I thought I had catalogs that only showed this back to about 1922, but then I found another reference in a musical paper showing that Hohner was making these as early as 1915. And this particular one has the outside spring. It has sharp edges on the back of the cover plates. And on the box it says the chromatic harmonica, the first and only practical one, M. Hohner. And we know from other examples of Hohner's products that his very earliest marine bands, for example, had the sharp edges on the back of the cover plates, and later on they bent them over, probably to prevent you from cutting your fingers while you were playing these. They're not that sharp. And then the next one says exactly the same thing on the box: chromatic harmonica, first and only practical one, outside spring, but the back edge of the cover plates is bent over. So I'm quite sure that that's the next one in sequence. And then here's another one with a different design on the box. Instead of the first and only practical one, it says the first and only harmonica providing sharps and flats, so they're getting a little more detail on there. But it still has the outside spring and the bent over cover plates. And from there, they went to this one, which is a Chromatica 1 with a K, which happens to be the German model, but is exactly the same as the US Chromatica. And now the spring is on the inside, where you can't see it. So this was made in the late 30s. So what I've shown you here goes from, let's say, 1915 until 1939 or 40. And they kept evolving after that. They're still different today. And Hohner made a larger model, well, two larger sizes. One was a 12-hole model, and they made a 16-hole model called the 64 Chromatica. And I'm showing you this particular one. I do have a few others, because on this one it has the Hohner trademark above where it says 64 Chromatica. And I've only been able to find this illustrated in a 1936 Hohner catalog. And after that, it looked the same, but the trademark is no longer there, and it appears on both sides. So that's probably the very earliest that I have of the 16-hole chromatic harmonica that Hohner made. Hohner also made a very large tremolo harmonica over a long period of time, and these are just two examples. I believe these are almost 18 inches long, and they play in 4 different keys. There's a key in this range of a tremolo being the reeds tuned very close together, so they have sort of a rich resonant sound. Have it backwards. And then different keys here. And they, as I say, they made those over a long period of time. This one probably from 1915 or thereabouts. And this one probably from the 1960s, because it no longer has the star in the center of the trademark, which disappeared around 1940. But it's exactly the same instrument in the same nice case with latches on it and so forth. So I have, I think, about 4 or 5 of those over time. And here's, I love this one. It's the same instrument, except it's shorter. It's a shorter model, still with 4 keys. And whoever owned this mounted a miniature harmonica on a little bracket here, so he could play this harmonica and intersperse it, I guess, with the Mini. one-of-a-kind thing. Oh, I should mention this one. There was a famous harmonica group called the Harmonicats. Jerry Murad played the chromatic harmonica, and a man who still works and does this sort of thing in Florida, named John Infandy, made this model, designed it for Jerry Murad, and it's a tremolo chromatic. It's a pretty sound, I think. And it's really two Hohner 64s mounted in the same frame with a special machine mouthpiece and a special slide to operate both slides at the same time. The same guy, John Infandy, made, I guess he still does, he made a bass harmonica. Here it is. But before I show you that, I'm going to show you a typical Hohner bass harmonica. Here it is. This is the larger chromatica made by Hohner. It's chromatically tuned and plays only on the draw. And it's a great big bulky thing, playing the low notes for a harmonica trio, let's say. Well, John Infandy came out with this slick little model. Looks almost like an oversized diatonic. It's tuned differently than the normal bass. I don't quite understand it, but according to John, it makes it easier to play in the right sequence and so forth. And it's machined out of colorful plastic. It says custom made by John Infandy. I think it's a great instrument. It's not chromatic like the Hohner I just played, but serves the purpose. Oh, I should mention this one. This is another Hohner polyphonia, but it's really a chord instrument. And it's three harmonicas hinged together. Plays only on the blow, different chords, minor and major. And the seventh chord. And that's not a very common one. That one happens to be pre-World War II also. There is one style of harmonica called a resonator, at least that's what I call it, the resonator harmonica, with a shell with a harmonica built into the side. And this is a more practical model because it does allow you to get special effects, especially that wah-wah effect by cupping your hand over the end of the shell and waving it as you play the harmonica. And they made a lot of different models, a small one and larger ones. There's a larger one still that I don't own. The only one that's really different in this case than the resonator types is a special chromatic made by Koch. And the way that's played is that as you're blowing the harmonica, there's a little bell on the end that flares out like these other shell type. You hold onto that bell and you twist it a fraction of a turn, and it lines up another harmonica inside that has the other chromatic notes on it. So you twist it back and forth. Very, very rare, because I suspect it didn't work out all that great, because I only know about two other models like that. But again, it was made by Mr. Andreas Koch, who was very prolific with his ideas on how to make a harmonica look different. I'm taking instruments from this display case, which has my so-called resonator harmonicas. And I'll start with one which is called the loud tone, a little instrument with a horn. And it was made in Germany for the Strauss Company in New York. And the horn does allow you some resonator effect. There was a companion model which has a little fancier kind of horn that sticks up and out. And this is called the loud speaker. Also made for Strauss in Germany. Then we'll switch to a little Hohner model, which looks like a cartridge, and surprisingly, they call it the cartridge harp. This is a fairly early one, I think made around 1905 or in that vicinity. And they later made the same instrument in a red plastic. Oh, that was called the Echophone, a similar instrument. This is the only cartridge harp. Has a nice rich sound. I like the resonators because, as opposed to the ones with trumpets on them, they serve a useful purpose. Another made by Hohner in the same time frame, a little after 1900, is called the Hohner phone, and it came in different metals. This has brass ends, and it looks to me like a galvanized center section. And there, maybe you can read the Hohner phone on it. And it came in different sizes. This is the smaller one, 10-hole model. We'll finish off the resonator demonstration with this one, which is not a Hohner. It's called a mellophone, and I really don't know who the maker was, but on the side of the harmonica it says Alexander Concert Brand. Oh, sorry, Concert Grand. The mellophone. It's a double hole, and it really has quite an organ-like sound. The last one from this case is not truly a resonator. Well, it is in a way, but it's a chromatic model, quite a rare one. I only know of one other, made by Koch, and it doesn't have the usual button on it. I'll demonstrate up a little closer on this one. We play the regular diatonic scale. Then we twist the end of it, and we go up a half tone, just like any chromatic. But we can get the wah-wah effect too. Obviously not very popular with players because they made darn few of them. We just don't see them around. Then I thought you'd be interested to see this little beauty. We have here the end of a trombone, which has been cut off, and into that has been soldered, rather crudely, a Koch harmonica on one side. And on the other side are these 6 crazy-looking horns, which really, again, have no useful function. Tassels hanging down. That doesn't work. We figure this must have been for a circus clown. I mean, it certainly was a clown. Whether he was in the circus or not, no one will ever know. But it's a crazy thing, and who else would go to all that trouble? I've always been quite partial to bell harmonicas, and for that reason I've taken extra special effort and bucks, you might say, to build up this collection of a couple of dozen or so bell units. And I'll just point out a few of the differences. I guess the first one that I bought was this, called the University Chimes. It's double-sided, and very few of these, I guess the only other one is this one, are double-sided. But they were quite popular. They were advertised in Sears catalogs, and so it's not too difficult to find one of these in the original box. And I've had the chance to buy other ones, but this one is a nice example, so I'm happy with that. Most of the rest of these are 2-bell harmonicas. Well, that is also 2-bell, but single-sided 2-bell harmonicas. A number of them are made by Hohner. This one is called an Echo, but it has a German expression on it, so I've never seen this advertised in the U.S. catalog, so I suspect this was made for the German market. And it also has the so-called sport hunting horn trademark on the back rather than the regular Hohner trademark. But the idea behind the bell harmonica is you play the harmonica and you ring the bells. You get the idea. Well, I don't really either. They dress them up like they did a lot of the other models that we've already looked at. This one has some interesting features. It's got a little musical lyre in between the 2 bells. And the bells have a nice sound, and that happens to be made by Mr. Bohm, the same guy that made the little wooden miniature harmonicas and a lot of other ones as well. This one is a Hohner, and the bells look like little tulips. That one I have not been able to find in any of the early Hohner catalogs that I have. My oldest bell harmonica is this one. And it took a fair amount of repair work because when I bought it, one of these little ringers was missing. But I recognized it from looking at early catalogs. I saw it on a flea market, in a flea market case, as being a very early style of bell harmonica, because the bell is mounted in a hole in the cover plate rather than up on top of the harmonica. And you ring by flipping the little little levers there. That is one of my rarest harmonicas, and I say that because I know 2 other major collectors, 3 other major collectors, and none of them have even one example of that style. Or of this one. which is a 4-bell harmonica. And I've never seen a 4-bell harmonica in any catalog. 1, 2, well, 3, and 4. Bells need a little adjusting, the ringers sometimes. There. You know, same idea. And then you get up toward the top here, the smaller ones, sometimes they only have 1 bell. And here's one called the Belfry, which I've seen in early, well, 1920-ish Sears catalogs, with the bells back to back on top of each other. So there you have a whirlwind tour of bell harmonicas. I should point out that just a few of mine have boxes. It's very hard to find bell harmonicas with boxes, and I don't know quite why. On this wall, we'll start at the bottom and work our way up and to the right. On the shelf are 3-tier Hohner display cases. I've seen these advertised sometimes as a salesman's sample case, so it's not at all what they were. They were in the shop, and Hohner supplied these to the shop owner, complete with a full set of harmonicas inside, and each of the trays, and they come with the tiers that open up and back. I'll try to demonstrate. Like that. And on each tray, and this one, for example, on the bottom tray it says, your choice, 25 cents each. Then the next tray is 35, and the next tray is 50. So they had 25, 35, 50-cent harmonicas. In this box I have my pitch pipe collection. I have a lot of different pitch pipes, some of which are quite old and interesting. But these boxes have a beautiful lithograph picture inside the cover, and there's basically 2 different pictures. This one, the main difference, you'll notice the man has a beard, and this one, no beard. They all have the young blonde boy and the young lady, her hairstyle changes a bit, and characters from around the world playing harmonicas in the background. You can see it looks like an American Indian and a Chinaman, and who knows what else. The other distinguishing difference is that it will say on here 7 million sold annually, or 10 million sold annually. And those are the 2 most common boxes that you come across. There's also one that says 6 million, which I have in another place. There's one that says 8 million, and I think I saw, and I have just the top tray of the 8 million, and there's one that says 5 million that I've seen advertised in early catalogs. So they made these over quite a period of time, and they come in very handy for me to store certain types of harmonicas. Like in here I have rolls for my play-a-sax, and in this one I have a bunch of rolls for my roll monica, and there's more rolls in the back room. So I've been able to pick up a number of those boxes at not too outrageous prices over time. And then there are some smaller display boxes. Here's one, again with the same family group. It's a Hohner. Your choice, 25 cents. So that only had 25-cent harmonicas. This one had the Magnolia harmonicas with 3 characters from the Revolutionary period, I would say, marching along. One of them, 2 of them playing harmonicas, and the harmonica hadn't been invented for the next 50 years. I have a couple of little metal boxes here which were supplied to shop owners full with harmonicas, and the boxes themselves are works of art.